Before we dive into this life-altering testimony, I want to welcome you to our channel. For those who are joining us for the first time, our mission here is nothing short of divine. We share the most powerful and genuine Christian testimonies from around the world. These aren't just stories, they're glimpses into the afterlife, encounters with Jesus, and the stark realities of heaven and hell. If you're ready to confront the truth and be shaken to your core, subscribe now and become part of a family committed to spreading God's kingdom in these dark times. God bless you as you do so. Today I'm bringing you a story that will challenge everything you think you know about life, death, and what lies beyond. My name is Asta, and just days before my graduation, I faced something most people never live to talk about. What started as a simple class picnic ended in an experience that shattered the boundaries of life and death. I drowned, I died, and I came back with a message that could change your life forever. Imagine this: I was swimming out to a raft by myself when I suddenly got cramps. Panic set in as I realized I was in serious trouble. The water became my prison, cold and unforgiving, pulling me down into its depths. I fought desperately for one breath of air, just one, but it never came. The pain was unbearable, searing through every cell in my body. I was trapped at the bottom of the lake, my hands stuck in the mud, my lungs burning for oxygen that would never come. And then, in the midst of my agony, a voice spoke inside my head. Asta, it called, addressing me by name with a calm that contrasted sharply with my terror. You need to rest just for a moment. I fought against it, convinced that resting would mean certain death. But the voice persisted, gently urging me to let go, just for a moment. The moment I mentally agreed, everything changed. Suddenly, I was pulled out of my body. I looked down and saw my lifeless form, still trapped in the mud below. But I wasn't dead. I was more alive than I had ever been. The cold was gone, replaced by an overwhelming warmth. I felt love and peace in a way that defies human understanding. I had entered a realm that was neither here nor there, a place where time and space had no meaning. In this ethereal realm, I encountered beings of pure light, entities that exuded wisdom and love beyond anything I had ever known. Among them was one who stood out, a figure so radiant and powerful that I was filled with both awe and reverence. Though he spoke no words, I knew instantly who he was: Jesus, the embodiment of divine love and compassion. His eyes, filled with infinite kindness, looked into mine, and in that moment, every fear and doubt I had ever harbored melted away. He didn't need to speak for me to understand his message. It was as if his thoughts flowed directly into my soul, bypassing the need for words. He showed me a vision, one that I can only describe as a warning for the future. Suddenly, I was standing in the middle of a battlefield. The sky was blackened with smoke, and the air was thick with the stench of burning debris. All around me, soldiers from different eras and nations fought in agony, their faces twisted in pain. The ground was littered with the remnants of countless wars, broken weapons, torn uniforms, and the bodies of the fallen. The cries of the wounded and dying echoed in my ears, a haunting chorus of human suffering that seemed endless. The vision didn't stop there. I was transported through time, witnessing scenes of destruction, from ancient wars fought with swords and shields to modern battles waged with tanks and guns. The devastation was universal, a relentless cycle of violence that spanned the ages. I saw the faces of men, women, and children from every corner of the world, all caught in the merciless grip of war. The suffering was overwhelming, a heavy weight pressing down on my soul. Tears streamed down my face as I realized the full extent of what I was seeing. This wasn't just a depiction of the past or the present, it was a warning for the future. And then Jesus spoke again, not with words, but directly into my mind. Man will prey on man until man will pray for man, he said. The meaning was clear: humanity is on a path of self-destruction, driven by violence and hatred, and only a collective turning to God in prayer can change the course we are on. As I returned to my body, gasping for air on the shore, I knew that my life had been irrevocably changed. I had been given a message, a duty to share this vision with the world. The next 6 years, he told me, would be a time of trials for Christians everywhere. We must arm ourselves with prayer, standing firm in our faith to ensure that only God's will comes to pass. This is not just my story, it's a warning for all of us. The future is uncertain, and the trials ahead will test the very foundations of our faith. But we are not without hope. Jesus has shown me the power of prayer, the strength that lies in unity, and the love that can conquer even the darkest of times. So I ask you, are you prepared? Will you stand with me and countless others who are choosing to arm themselves with prayer, to stand firm in faith as the storms of life rage around us? The time is now. The battles ahead are not just physical, they are spiritual, and the stakes could not be higher. Join me, and together, let's fulfill the purpose that Jesus has laid out for us. The time for complacency is over. The time for action is now. The scene shifted again, and I found myself standing on a high cliff overlooking a vast expanse of water. The sky was dark and heavy with clouds, and the air was thick with the promise of a storm. Below me, the ocean surged and roared, its waves crashing against the shore with a terrifying force. I watched in horror as the water began to rise, swelling and spilling over the land. The vision moved swiftly, showing me floods engulfing cities and towns on different continents. In one moment, I was in a bustling city, watching as people scrambled to higher ground, their faces etched with fear. The water rose relentlessly, swallowing buildings, cars, and everything in its path. I could hear the desperate cries for help, the frantic calls of parents searching for their children, and the haunting silence that followed when the floodwaters claimed their victims. I was then transported to rural landscapes where vast fields of crops were submerged under the relentless tide. The loss was not just of human life, but of the very sustenance that communities depended on. Livestock and wild animals alike were swept away, their bodies carried off into the abyss. The smell of death lingered in the air, a grim reminder of the destruction left in the flood's wake. Before I could fully grasp the magnitude of the devastation, the vision changed once more. I was now standing at the base of a towering volcano, its peak shrouded in smoke and ash. The ground trembled beneath my feet, and I watched in awe and terror as the volcano erupted with a deafening roar. Molten lava spewed forth, a river of fire that consumed everything in its path. Whole towns and villages were buried under the scorching flow, their inhabitants unable to escape the inferno. There will come a time when it will all happen at the same time. It will come during the era of man's greatest sins. Immediately he said this, the vision shifted once more, and I found myself standing on solid ground, surrounded by towering skyscrapers and bustling streets. It was a familiar sight, one of a thriving city, full of life and energy. But the calm was deceptive, a mere prelude to the chaos that was about to unfold. Without warning, the ground beneath me began to tremble. At first it was a subtle vibration, barely noticeable, but within moments it intensified, growing into a violent shaking that sent people and structures alike into a state of panic. I watched in horror as the earth cracked open, swallowing buildings whole and leaving gaping chasms in its wake. The sound was deafening, a cacophony of shattering glass, crumbling concrete, and the anguished cries of those caught in the destruction. The earthquake was relentless, its force ripping apart everything in its path. Skyscrapers that once stood as symbols of human achievement now toppled like fragile dominoes, reduced to piles of twisted metal and debris. As I moved through the vision, I was transported to different parts of the world, each scene more devastating than the last. In one moment, I was in a city in America, witnessing a massive earthquake that flattened entire neighborhoods. The ground heaved and buckled, sending cars careening off the road and people scrambling for cover. The magnitude of the destruction was almost incomprehensible. Throughout these visions of light, he remained by my side, his presence a constant amidst the chaos. His voice, calm and steady, broke through the noise and confusion. "There will not only be more of what you have seen," he said, "but there will come a time when it will all happen at the same time. It will come during the era of man's greatest sins." His words were a dire prophecy, a warning of a future where natural disasters would converge. As the vision continued, I was drawn to a particularly catastrophic scene. A massive earthquake in a place named Eureka. The ground split open with a force that shook the very foundations of the earth. Buildings collapsed in on themselves, and the landscape was forever altered. Amidst the devastation, there were signs of life. People were coming together. There will come a time when all of this will happen at once. It will be a time of great tribulation, but also of great opportunity. His message was clear, a call to action for all of humanity. He then unveiled to me the greed, arrogance, and indifference that have engulfed all of human history. Wars waged for power and wealth, leaving trails of devastation in their wake. Injustices perpetuated through generations, fueled by a thirst for dominance and control, the exploitation of the earth's resources, heedless of the consequences for future generations. Jesus said again, "Man will prey on man until man will pray for man." And during all of that process, I was there. I was now on the beach, and my friends were pushing the water out of my lungs. I was coughing the water out, and I was completely becoming conscious, and I was crying. And all of my classmates thought I was crying from the pain of drowning. But I was crying because I was no longer in the light. I was back in my body. I was back on earth. I wanted to be in the light. During this entire episode, from the moment I started sinking into the water and the mud up until the moment I was coughing water out of my lungs on the beach, I lost consciousness. I wasn't aware of every microsecond of that time. Experience to the end. Kindly like and share this video, and if you are new to our channel, we ask you to kindly subscribe to our channel to continue to get edifying content. Thank you.